Jesus, all the way. I'll forever trust in you. Jesus, all the way. JC 24/7. Larger Bless, Dwayne, Sukunya, Jumbi, Casper the Friendly Ghost, Jack-o'-lantern. What do all of these have in common? Well, for starters, I've never seen them, but I've heard that they do exist. But more importantly, my question is, what part do they play on those of us who are alive today? And how can they affect the way we live? Today, we look at a very sensitive issue of death, but not in the context of what happens to you when your loved one dies, but what happens to you when you die. Are you dead or are you alive? And this morning, we have invited two young men to talk to this issue of dead or alive. Evangelist Claudius Morgan and, of course, Pastor Roderick Thomas, which I will start with. Do you believe that evil spirits exist today?
Yes, they certainly do.
Okay. How can we know for sure?
Well, they operate in our world. They use people as mediums. They tempt people, and they create havoc and destruction in our world.
Okay. You subscribe to that, Pastor Morgan?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
You have some in St. Vincent?
You have a whole lot.
Can evil spirits impersonate another person?
Of course. The Bible gives evidence of that.
Okay.
When Saul went to see the witch, and he was looking for Samuel, and Samuel did come up, but it was not Samuel.
Okay.
Because if what they say is true, he should have been coming down.
Okay, I hear you.
But he came up. And if you read the Bible, you'd realize that it was the evil spirit, it was the devil. And as a result of that, King Saul lost his life.
Okay.
So they can impersonate your mother. They know how she speaks, the tone of her voice, her gestures, your father. Yeah.
So when folks say that they have communicated with dead people, with their deceased loved ones and stuff like that, first of all, do you think that is possible for an individual who's alive to communicate with his deceased loved one? Is that possible?
If that is possible, then the Bible is not true.
So what experiences, if they were to tell you, Pastor, I have spoken to her and she has spoken back to me?
Yes, it's the same thing, the evil spirits. You read in Corinthians that the devil is like an angel of light. You understand?
Okay.
And he has ministers of that sort. And if you talk to somebody who you think is your dead mother, your dead father, it is not. It is the devil. It's an evil angel who talks like your mother, who songs like your mother, who behaves like your mother, who knows exactly, about the deed and about all the business of the family.
I tell you.
Yeah.
So every angel, so right now as we speak, angels are looking at you and looking
Oh
at
yeah,
you.
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Why would an angel want to impersonate somebody who's deceased?
Well,
what would it be his purpose?
Well, is as a result of bringing about confusion over the state of the dead, You see, because the devil wants us to believe that people who are dead are still alive.
Oh.
You see?
Okay.
And the controversy started at the beginning of our time.
Okay.
When Eve said to the devil, God said, if we eat of the fruit, we shall surely die. And the devil answered and said, well, you will die, but not surely.
Okay.
And so here in Trinidad and across the Caribbean and across the world, there are people who believe that people are dead, but not surely. You see? Not surely. Yeah.
So the intent is to deceive.
Yes.
Definitely. But is that any reason, Pastor, why people over the years have developed a fear for the cemetery? Let me explain. I remember when I was younger, I was told you mustn't point at cemeteries lest your finger rots. I don't know how many people subscribe to that today, but I know in my time it was something that people held on to. Does that have anything to do, the state of the dead, does it have anything to do with people's fear of the dead and consequently people's fear of the cemetery?
I believe the cemetery is the safest place in Trinidad. Because the Bible says in Ecclesiastes 9:5 that the dead know nothing. The Bible further states in Ecclesiastes that even their memory is forgotten. is forgotten. So it's very safe. You go and you sit in a tomb and nobody can touch you.
So you could go there and sleep
Oh
past
yeah, oh yeah. The devil can't rip you off. In fact, not the devil. The dead cannot rip you off.
Okay.
The dead cannot break into your home. The dead cannot commit adultery. The dead cannot commit fornication. If the Bible is right, when you are dead, you are dead. Okay. And as we say back in St. Vincent, not just dead, but stone dead.
Pastor, you want to add to that? Stone dead?
Well, of course, death is a subject that we look at and we have surveyed from time to time. But the whole fact of the matter is that the devil intention is to deceive. That's his purpose. And he will use all means possible to deceive even the very elect, as the Bible says.
Right. What would a deception concerning the state of the dead do to God's people? I mean, we don't want to get too far into the devil's mind, but if he wants to deceive in order to let people think that the dead are alive, what would be his objective? What is he trying to do?
You see, when someone dies, and you preach, oh, they are gone to a better place, it gives you that hope. You know, that at least, well, you know, they're gone to a place of rest. They are looking down on me. I heard my favorite preacher, C.D. Brooks, said that when his mother died...
I thought I was your favorite preacher. Sorry. Go ahead.
When his mother died, if she were in heaven, she would have been a miserable mother because his brother had not accepted Christ. So she would have never enjoyed heaven. You understand?
I hear you.
So it is a trick from the devil. And I find as a preacher, and let me say to my evangelical friends and my Pentecostal friends and my Catholic friends, I think the devil is just using this to confuse. And I think when we stand to preach, we must say exactly what the Bible says. For example, if the dead really come back, why do the government spend millions of dollars to solve a crime? Why don't they just bring back the dead and say, who is it who shoot you? It's who kill you, so they can solve the crime. You see? So it's not true. It's a lie from hell. And we need to talk about it. We need to preach about it. We need to show them from the Word what the Word stands for.
Pastor Thomas, is it possible, therefore, for a person, well, I suspect, based on what Pastor Morgan is saying, that it's not possible for a person to be dead today and alive tomorrow?
No, it's not possible for a person to be dead today and alive
What
tomorrow.
your question? Sorry, go ahead.
All right. Well, one of the issues is that when a person is dead, the Bible says his thoughts perish.
Right.
All right. It also says he goes back to the dust and the breath goeth forth. So a person has no life. The person deteriorates, and that's it until resurrection morning.
Okay. So we talk about resurrection. Christ performed at least 3 of them we have seen in the Bible. Performed 3 resurrections, if you like. His included, of course. Can resurrections take place today? And as a result of that, I could say I've resurrected somebody from the dead. Do you believe that a resurrection is possible in 2013?
It is possible only by the power of Jesus Christ. Understand?
And Christ, isn't that the miracle of that is on a hold for now?
No, it's not on a hold. It can happen. God is still alive. He said, greater things we'll do than the disciples do. But any man who raises the dead, the power doesn't come from the man.
Okay.
The power comes from God.
Okay.
But when you look at the whole issue of the state of the dead, you have to go back to Genesis.
Right.
How was man formed? Bible says man was formed from the dust. The Greek is Adama, from the dust of the ground. And God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. In that verse in Genesis, it is the breath of lives. Okay. So God did it once, so he doesn't have to do it again.
Right. And
then man became a living soul. Okay. Before man was a living soul, quite naturally, he had to be a dead soul. So what gives man life is the breath of God. You see? That's why Psalm 146 and verse 4 says, his breath goeth forth. He returneth to the dust. In that very day, his thoughts perish. You have to ask yourself the question, when the Bible says his breath goeth forth, what does it mean? Where does the breath go? Does the breath fly like a UFO into the air and resides there? You see? Because that is their contention. So your body goes down, but here is your breath. So your body is somebody else and your breath is somebody else. But the breath came from God. Now, when you look at one of those resurrections that Jesus did, which was Lazarus, he went to the grave to bring Lazarus from the dead. Did he have breath in his hand? Did he have the breath in his pocket? Where did the breath come from? You understand? I guess a better understanding of it is Calvary. Jesus said, Lord, into thy hands I commit my spirit, which indicates that God is the only person who can give you life again. So when Jesus said to Lazarus, Lazarus, come forth, he didn't have any breath with him to put into Lazarus. It was the power that came from Jesus, you see? So when the breath leaves us, it's not that the breath goes back to God as such. What it says is that God is the only one who has the power to give us life again.
Is it therefore safe to say that when we talk about seeing our loved ones after they have deceased, or deceased loved ones, that it could be the enemy's counter-resurrection, or counterfeit resurrection? Because he knows everything the devil does, he tries to counterfeit.
That's right.
It is safe to say that he's counterfeiting what God does. He doesn't have the power, but he tries to present himself as one who does have the power. When we come back in our next segment, we'll want to look a little more closely on this theory of the body plus the breath of God equals life, and see if there's any truth to what some of the things we have been hearing. We are looking at dead or alive. Hope you will be alive to see us in the next segment.
JC 24/7.
The other day I stooped and walked. I heard one say this road is rough. I don't know if I can make it through.
Then the other turned and said, stay your course, for just ahead, the place you seek is sure to come to you. Oh, is home. Just down the road is shelter. When you don't feel like trying, keep climbing.
Over the hill
is home. If you ever find yourself out of strength and need of help, know that hope is just a prayer away.
The strength of God is always there, a faithful guide to lead you there. His mission is to show us the way. Oh,
Over the hill is home. Just down the road is shelter. When you don't feel like trying, keep climbing.
over the hill is
On the other side of night comes a day that shines so bright.
over the hill is home. Oh,
Through the valleys he will guide, gives his children by his side.
over the hill is home.
Over the hill is home. Just down the road is shelter. When you don't feel like trying, keep climbing.
'Cause over the hill is home.
On the other side of night comes comes a day that shines so bright.
Over the hill, his home.
Through the valleys he will guide, keeps his children by his side.
Over the hill is home.
Though the mountains seem so high, we can make it if we try.
Over the hill, his home.
Oh, over the hill.
His
Home.
JC 24/7.
Welcome back to Dead or Alive. We are looking at the state of the dead and some of the theories that have been posited regarding a person when he is dead. Jesus went to the tomb, and before he went to the tomb of Lazarus, Pastor Roderick Thomas, he did say that Lazarus was asleep. Yet there are some who contend that when Jesus said he was asleep, he wasn't really dead, and when Jesus had to reaffirm that he was actually dead. My question before we get into that is, how do we differentiate a person's body from the person, or can we? What happens to the person's body at the time of his death?
Now at creation, you have the body God created man from the dust of the ground, and then he breathed into him the breath of life, and he became a living soul. Death now is the reversal of the creation of man.
Okay.
In Ecclesiastes 12:7, it says, he returns to the dust, and his breath goeth forth.
Right.
So that's the reverse.
Right.
All right. So that is the reversal of the creation of man. Good. Now, sleep, the metaphor sleep, is used to refer to death, an unconscious state.
So it's a metaphor.
Yeah, it's a metaphor. The metaphor sleep refers primarily to the person who goes to sleep, who's is an unconscious state.
Why sleep? Why sleep is used as a metaphor?
Because you do not know anything, you are just in an unconscious state.
Okay.
That's why
as somebody says, you only know when you are asleep when you get up.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the way. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the person, now you will know, how will you know the person? You have memory. All right? The person has memory. The person, for instance, if there's a person you went to school with, you will tend to know that person. Even though, let's say 20 years later, you meet that person, you will be able to talk. You talk about things that you did together. Right. So memory helps you to know that's the person, even though the person features change.
I hear you.
But because the person has certain memory, you can say safely, yes, you are this particular person from class, because of the memories. Right. And memory plays an important part in knowing the person. Even in the resurrection, the memory plays a critical part.
Okay. All right. So that the body disintegrates and becomes dust. I'm coming back to you, Pastor Morgan, because you did mention about the disembodied spirits, and is it that the spirits go floating and stuff like that? If the body is disintegrated, what is it that Christ is going to resurrect when he comes back to the earth? Is it that the person has gone to heaven and he's bringing them back down? Or is he going to the spot the person was buried in and talk to the spot? What is it going to happen? That's what I'm trying to get at. Why is there a difference between the person and the person's body?
Well, from what Pastor Roderick was just discussing, it seems that death is creation in reverse. Creation in reverse. And when God made man, God gave him life by making him breathe. Anytime you stop breathing, you no longer have life. Okay. Understand? And the breath that God inserted in man makes him talk, smell, hug, gave him sight. Okay. So that breath in you does everything. Pump your heart and your lungs, your thoracic cavity, or whatever we learned in school in biology. So when that breath leaves, everything shuts down. It's like a car. You put in the key and you start it. Okay? The engine starts, you're ready to go. You cannot move that car unless you start it. So you see, we got to understand, and those who are looking at the program, the importance of breath. And breath is not man-made. Breath came from God. And even though God does not come and breathe into the embryo or the fetus in the mother's womb, okay, God is the one who's still responsible for putting the breath inside. Okay? As you know, we studied in school about existentialism and traducianism and creationism.
Okay, thank you so much.
And stuff.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. I learned one time that the word breath in the Hebrew has to do with the spirit and the mind. It's like God breathed himself, his character. Right. Yeah. So he came into man. All right. And once a man doesn't have God, he is kind of dead as well. So we can also look at the spiritually dead person, all right, which is truly death. Right? Death is not just what happens to you physically, but what happens to you spiritually. And if you are spiritually dead and you are physically alive, you are still dead.
Right.
You know. All right. Stone dead, somebody said. So, Pastor, is it therefore safe to say that when a person dies, he is in transit, either to heaven or to hell?
No, it's not safe to say that. Job said in Job 14:14, if a man dies, shall he live again? And then he answered his own question. He said, all the days of my appointed time will I wait till my change come.
So he's waiting.
He's waiting now.
Okay.
He answers, and in Job 17:13, he says, if I wait, the grave is my house. If you wait, that's where you have to wait.
Okay.
You see? And so, even in Paul's time, the saints, they were confused.
Right. Okay.
And so Paul explained in Thessalonians, he said, but I would not have you ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that you sorrow not, even as others which have no hope.
Have mercy.
You see? So the Bible explains the state of the dead.
Okay.
My Pentecostal evangelical friends say absent from the body, present with the Lord. Paul said that. But what Paul had was a desire to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord. He was not actually absent from the body. Because you can be absent from the body and present with the Lord. You know? When you are dead, you're dead. Your spirit leaves you. It goes back to God. You stay in that hole until the trump shall sound.
Or whether it was in the sea or something.
Or in the sea,
there,
wherever.
Wherever it is. Speaking of hope, Pastor, and we want to bring it to a close, should a person therefore hope to see their loved one? Should we encourage people to hope to see their loved one again?
We certainly must, because the fact of the matter is that Jesus Christ will come in the clouds of heaven, and he will call the dead back to life. Those who are alive will be translated. And the fact is that your loved one whom you have separated from for a long time, you will reunite, never more to part again. So that's a glorious hope, to look forward to the resurrection when it takes place. And I'm looking forward to that day when Jesus Christ comes the second time to take his exiled captive home.
Well, we missed the first one, so you can't miss the second one, Pastor. All right. Jesus Christ himself said, he that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live, and he that believeth me shall never die. So in either circumstance, you have hope. You can be dead today and alive tomorrow. You can be alive today and dead tomorrow. My wish for you is to be alive forevermore. Believe in Jesus Christ, and you shall live, and live again. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to having you once again on JC 24/7.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. I was blind, but now I see.
It was grace that brought my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appeared the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils and snares, I have already come, and this grace that brought me